Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order this special session of the Delaware County Jail Oversight Board for May 25th. We have a fairly short agenda for today. I don't really see anyone from the public who may want to speak for items on the agenda, but nevertheless, this is the point where such people would speak. Hearing none, the first item for today is a consideration of a contract for Deputy Warden of Security. And to speak to that, I'd ask the Deputy Warden, Lisa Mastrodi, to come to the podium and speak to that if you could.
As far as the position for Michelle Miller, correct?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we did have a proposal on the table to hire an interim deputy warden for this position going through the end of August to fill our need at the facility. I don't have much detail on that position.
Okay. Mr. Lazar, I should have mentioned that in addition to who's here in person, Brian Corson, the controller, Ms. Phillips, and myself, we have via virtual, we have the executive director, Howard Lazarus, Sheriff Sanders, and Judge Brennan via Zoom. Howard, do you mind filling in a bit more on the color on this? And just for everyone's benefit, this was discussed, albeit preliminarily, in executive session a few weeks back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As way background, the county's been highly successful in recruiting the management team for George W. Hill. Earlier today, Ms. Mastrodi had sent a note that all of the non-security positions have been filled. We've also hired, in addition to Lisa as the Deputy Warden for Administration, we've hired a Deputy Warden for Programming. The one position that remains to be filled has been the Deputy Warden for Security. Our recruiting efforts are continually going on, and like every other area of the economy, we're encountering a tight labor market and trying to find the best fit for the management team. So engaging Ms. Miller as the Deputy Warden for Security under a contract basis will fill this role for us and allow us to continue the search for a longer term solution while we still continue to enhance our operations. The vacancy in this position has been raised as a concern by potential insurers, and it may have an adverse impact on our liability premiums. So Ms. Miller offers a great solution for us. She's recently retired with distinction from the Ohio Department of Corrections, where she was named the Correctional Officer of the Year. She also has background and experience in operations and analysis of prison security systems. So that adds value to the county and to the prison as we seek post-transition improvements. Ms. Miller is able to work with us through the end of August while we continue our search. I provided the position requirements separately. The recommendation that was forwarded and actually was acted on by council was to approve Ms. Miller's engagement as the Deputy Warden for Security as a contracted employee at a rate of $175 an hour. But that rate is all inclusive. So it includes labor, benefits, taxes, and all temporary living. The use of a contract for employment is appropriate due to the interim status of the position, and funding is available within the budget of George W. Hill for this agreement. The details of this were not previously presented to the Oversight Board, and as a matter of complying with the administrative code, but also respecting the perspectives and insights of the board, I wanted to bring it back for your information.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Now, my only comment is I'm in favor of filling this interim position to give us some breathing room to continue recruiting. And I know this person comes highly recommended and has a lot of experience, and it will give a little room for the, people working up there now. So I'm supportive.
All right, if nothing further, then I would entertain a motion to support the entering into a contract for the deputy warden for security as outlined.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
Any
you.
opposed? I didn't hear any opposition. All right, the ayes have it. The second item for today is an adoption agreement for the 3 remaining canines at George W. Hill. And Lisa, are you able to speak a little bit to that?
I am, actually. So in addition to contact our canine officers and handles, the facility contacted over 17 different agencies to try to find homes for these dogs. I do have a list of them I can provide to you guys of everywhere we connected. We also tried to connect with our previous canine handlers who did adopt 2 of the dogs, but we have 3 remaining dogs who are not narcotic trained, and they have bites against them. At this point, we found Joe Nick Canine, who is willing to take these dogs, retrain them for a period of 4 months, and then rehouse them and find them homes. The cost of it is $34,200 for the housing of the dogs, the retraining, and then the rehoming, which will probably be out of state.
All right, and that is a not to exceed figure?
It is not to exceed $34,200. Once we sign the contract with Joe Nick Canine, the dogs would be placed in his name, and we would no longer be liable.
So no legal liability once
Correct.
the passage of this contract
Correct.
occurs. All right, any questions or comments from the board?
I'd just like to provide a little bit additional background. The K-9 unit, when it was operating, cost about $566,000 a year. It consisted of 11 personnel, 27 canines. CGL recommended that we not include guard dogs in our path forward, as it's not best practice, and enhanced electronic surveillance of the facility's perimeter would be less costly. Warden Williams agreed with this assessment. I do need to note that the warden does have thoughts about other types of dogs, but not these dogs, and they will have a role in the future. As Lisa had mentioned, we did place 21 of the 27 dogs. 3 of the animals were euthanized due to age, health, or aggressive history. So the remaining 3 animals require specialized handling. So this does qualify as a professional service under the county code. What Lisa had laid out to you transfers ownership of the dogs. Mr. Nick has extensive experience with canines. He's currently the director of the Atlantic County, New Jersey Canine Academy, which offers courses in socialization and training of canine teams. I think this approach, by transferring the dogs to Mr. Nick, provides the best potential for positive outcomes and relieves the county of any liability and intermediate term costs.
Any other questions or comments from board members?
Yes, I do. Are those enhanced videos in place at this time?
You're asking about enhanced security equipment?
That's correct. You said the enhanced video for the perimeter.
No, it has not been updated as of yet. We are working with an engineer to have those plans in place.
And so absent I think the judge's questions would then be,
We still have outside perimeter guards touring the unit, just no longer dogs.
Okay, so there's no dogs and no enhanced video. Okay. I don't think that this should be this can only be a recommendation to county council because we never voted to have the canine units stopped. That was a county council decision, if that's my understanding.
No,
Go ahead,
I think this board did discuss that.
Yeah, I think this was certainly, as
Discussed
we
it, not
developed
voted.
the transition plan, it came up a number of times, the fact that the canine unit is not best practice, and very few
No.
jails across the country still use perimeter security dogs.
Yeah, I
So
think you're missing
certainly
my
not the
point.
first time it's been
I'm
discussed.
not questioning what you're saying now. What
Uh-huh.
I'm saying is that this board never voted on that. That was a decision made by someone other than this board.
Again, I don't think there was a specific vote on just but there are a lot of,
Correct.
elements of the transition plan that didn't get discreetly voted upon. The overall direction for deprivatization and the various, and again, there were probably hundreds of micro decisions within the overarching decision of deprivatizing, and this was one of them that was certainly discussed at length.
I
But,
know, I think you're missing my point that I don't think that we should be voting on this. So I'm not gonna vote on this because this was not a decision made by this board. So I don't think this board should be voting on that. So I will abstain from that if you go forward with it.
Sure. Again, most things that we vote on, not most, many things that we vote on would be a recommendation because of the size of the contract exceeding 25,000 being something that county council needs to vote upon. So this would be a recommendation to county council, which county council
Correct.
approve or not approve.
Correct. That's the point I was trying to make, but I am going to abstain from that since this was never a vote that we took. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you, Your Honor. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to recommend entering into this contract with regard to the placement of the last 3 canines. Is there such a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
I hear a motion, a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I think there is one abstention from Judge Brennan. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
Thank you all. Last item for today is the discussion of a proposal for an employee referral bonus plan. Lisa, are you able to speak to that?
I am. I believe all of you have received a copy of the proposal that the warden had placed together for you. So what we are recommending and requesting is that we are able to, as you know, we're constantly looking for correctional officers at the jail. We'd like to have our employees refer them, give them a bonus after a 6 month. If they would stay for 6 months, it would be $1,000 bonus for a security position and a $500 bonus for non-security positions, as long as the employee referred stays and meets the criteria for at least 6 months. We'd like to have this program in place for a year. I feel that will give us a good test period for us to see if it's working and getting staff in as another avenue for us for retention and hiring staff.
And maybe I misremember, but was there so this is just a 1 point, 6 months out. If they're still there, then.
So the way it's written out is that they would get a $500 bonus paid out after 3 months. The first $500 would be paid after 3 months, and then the second would be after 6 months.
And half that for non-security?
Correct.
Same 3-month intervals?
For the $500, we were paying that all out, $500 at 6 months.
Okay, so there is no interim point for
Correct.
non-security. All right, and any other key terms or requirements for the payment to occur? Does the person who's doing the referring, any requirements about them?
So there is. So the warden has laid out where they would, it has to be a new referral. It cannot be going backwards. It would be from the point of this vote forward that we would put the program in place. About my reading glasses. Individuals cannot be in the current pipeline or in the process of being interviewed. They would have to make the acknowledgement up front that they are referring the individual to the HR staff prior to it. It would be an email form from the employee saying that they want to refer a person in, so it's all documented beforehand.
Right, and I think just further context, as we've talked about at length, there is a national challenge for hiring in the correction space, and certainly Delaware County is no different in that regard. And I think this is being proposed in the context of making sure that we are trying every avenue to enhance our abilities to recruit. And this is a structure that I believe the controller originally had the thought, and it's certainly been successful in other contexts elsewhere. Any other questions or comments from board members?
Yes, I had a question.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. King.
Yes. Have we done I guess you can call it a survey or comparison to surrounding counties / areas of what they were paying for that bonus for referral? Or is that the standard amount of, someone just came up with it?
My recollection is that the warden had utilized this in the past in her previous facility. She had this.
Correct. And
ready
we
to
also
go.
had Geo had a previous referral program in place as well. Through the years, the amounts have changed. They've gone up and down depending on the market and how it was getting staff. So we've had this program in place before with $1,000 and up to $3,000 at times.
So I guess answering your question, I don't think that there was an actual survey done. I just think that it was, we utilized something that the warden had utilized before. And I guess the question is, did we think it was a reasonable amount that might help the recruitment and, and be reasonable?
It is reasonable for us, and it's reasonable. The staff would appreciate the referral as well. And, it would be a test period for us to see if it actually gains some incentive.
Yeah, and I know this proposal was put in front of personnel, and they supported the structure.
Yeah, and my thinking too on this is that there's no one better to understand what it's going to take to do the job than someone that's doing the job. And if they know people that they think, and there's some pride in bringing along people, it's also reflects on your reputation. So people, I think, tend to be somewhat careful about who can come along board and do the job next to me. So, I think it could bring some, possibly bring some,
Good
good
staff.
quality candidates forward.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I make a comment?
Please.
Just wanted to answer Mr. King. We did survey the neighboring counties when we recommended the sign-on bonus back in January, February. And all of the neighboring counties were offering sign-on bonuses of up to anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Lancaster County, Berks County were offering $5,000 bonuses. It is a very tough environment to hire anyone in, let alone correctional officers. So it continues to be very challenging.
Thank you. That was great clarification. I appreciate it.
Any other thoughts, questions from the board? And as with the other two items for today, the reason why we're having this special session is in the interest of expediency. We want to, if there's support for this proposal, we want to get this up and running as soon as we can. To the executive director, Howard, would this be a recommendation, or can this just be, I don't believe this requires any council action, but I could be wrong there.
Personnel board, the code requires council personnel board approval of incentives and bonuses.
Okay. So again, this is the timing thing, is having this meeting to cover this topic allows for it to be before the personnel board when it meets in the beginning of June.
Right.
Okay, great. So this again would be a recommendation. Is there a motion to recommend the creation of this employee referral bonus program as laid out?
I'll make the motion.
I think I heard Brian first. So I heard motion.
I'll second it.
I got a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. All right. That is all for today. I again will ask an empty room if there are any public comments for today, which I assume there won't be any. Therefore, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it, and we are adjourned. Thank you all.